Hello and welcome back to Mellohi, a Dream SMP podcast. This is episode 64 and today we're discussing Sam Bucket and Dream's motivations. Alright, we're back.
Hello! It is us.
Hello.
And we know what we're talking about this week.
And we actually got to talk. We actually have an episode this week. Wow.
So there are two main bits of lore to talk about. Obviously Sam Bucket from last week that we were going to talk about. But also the dream stuff.
Did we get dream stuff?
Going a little crazy.
Yeah,
with the dream stuff.
like the soliloquy.
Oh.
Soliloquy? I don't know how to say that.
I thought we talked about that last
The
week, but now I'm
soliloquy?
realizing I don't think we actually got to...
No, that was midweek.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It happened after our scheduled recording.
Oh. Gosh darn it, Dream. Why do you do this to us?
It always happens with lore. But also,
Honestly, like,
freaking out.
I mentioned this before. I don't know if I mentioned it on this podcast, but there's this like weird pattern with like character dream content where like he'll do a thing or there'll be some bit of information released or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
people who don't like character dream will be like, oh my god, the dream apologists are gonna be so mad about this, and then you just like imagine it in like a TV show and it just immediately puts to us all celebrating because like there's something that we like analyzed from this character was confirmed, or one of our predictions was proven correct, or something like that.
It was so funny when he responded. So, Snowy, I'm assuming you've seen the tweets.
I've seen the tweets.
Yeah, so it's so funny because he responded to somebody basically making fun of
Editors.
certain kinds of editors or character Tommy fans. And he responded to it talking about Exile. And it was so hilarious because as soon as you go into the quote retweets, you have like the Dream Apologists and the C editors both yelling, "We won these! Like, everything we've known has been validated. Like, we were so right." And it's just both sides, and they're both, like, saying they're right when they have almost fundamentally different perspectives on the lore. And I was just like, y'all, you and
I'm sitting here like, do they really think that we like think his character's like some kind of good guy hero? Like the only kind of hero I could see him being is like the tragic kind.
yeah.
But not like the tragic
Dude,
kind
he's
in,
so
in
sad.
the sense of like the main character of a tragedy. The
Yeah.
tragic hero in the sense like he causes his own defeat, sort of.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude lost
It was
himself in his
just-
own prison.
It was just so funny.
Can't
On
exactly get
purpose.
any more tragic than that.
I guess, but the thing is, like, I can't even, like, I don't think that one side was necessarily wrong. It's just both sides were right on different things, right? Because, or at least, the reason
Dribbler
that, like,
sort of
the
focused.
C editors thought that they sort of, like, won or were proven right was that because Dream confirmed that character Dream manipulated Tommy on purpose and he enjoyed the like sort of power and control he got out of Tubbo exiling him and that sort of satisfaction. And so the C Tommy apologists or fans or whatever sort of took that as their win because it was confirmation that yeah, no, this really did happen. The thing is though is that C Dream apologists weren't saying that didn't happen.
Yeah,
So-
that's the thing.
So they were like, "Oh, C Dream apologists are crying," and we're like, "No, we knew that.
I
we
literally
agree
wrote
with
a
you
whole
that
analysis
happened."
last year about like how Dream was one of the characters on the SMP who's defined by his need for control.
Yeah, so that was the thing, right? Because like we have the C editors saying like, "Oh, we won because we were right about C Dream manipulating Tommy and like wanting power and control over him, or at least feeling good about getting it." And then you have the C
I
Dream
mean, like-
apologists like, "Oh my God, we've been validated because Dream just said that C Dream did all of the stuff he did in Exile because
As part of
he
a
was
greater
doing
plan.
it a part of his goal and his bigger plan." So it was just like, it was just so funny because they were both like, yeah, the other side must be crying, or well, the C editors were doing a lot of like, the C Dream apologists must be like sobbing and tearing their hair out, and like, imagine if you were like the person who posted this, and then you had the actual CC play the character come online and tell you you're an idiot. It's like, A, that's not what happened. B, we were actually right, and we're actually thrilled by this piece of information. And C, you just think that we're pissed off about it because you have a very incorrect conception about how we view exile and what happened. It's...
To be honest, we got our own chance to be like, oh, how are they gonna respond to that?
Yeah.
When he did the voice memo.
That's true.
Yeah, okay.
And apparently the main response from what I've heard is saying unreliable narration.
Oh yeah, so many people
what do you
just said he's
mean?
trying to manipulate the audience,
From
but
his poem, of course
that
it's gonna
doesn't
be
make any
biased.
sense because A, the character doesn't know an audience exists, so who is he talking to and trying to manipulate in that?
It's in the same category as character dreamers manipulating content creators.
Yeah.
Dude,
But it's just it's so silly.
Like, we don't even say, we don't even act, we don't really go like, what do you say to that when information comes up, until after the information comes up, and then they react in a very much like, we're gonna tear our heads out, we're gonna, copium, C-Dream is manipulating C-Dream. Like, what?
Okay, but to be fair, Drebler's memes about you don't understand, if you had watched Exile, you would understand. For like that, they turned it into such a giant meme of like, no, it's okay, guys. C-Dream or content creator Dream is just being manipulated by C-Dream. If he had actually watched Exile, he would know better.
It's the best joke because it seems like they say that people say that about every character, like. They wouldn't have done that if they were manipulated by character dreams.
Yeah.
Even when it's like completely unconnected.
I
like
know.
the whole thing about like, he was controlling the server from inside the prison. Like, was he manipulating people he never even talked to?
Yeah, it's just so funny.
It's just a little ridiculous. Also, I do have to say though, like, it does not surprise me that Dream enjoyed it when Tubbo exiled Tommy, because let's be real here. The entire time, Tubbo's entire cabinet was just, like, taunting Dream and calling him whatever and saying, hey, we should fight him. And then Tommy was being Tommy. So it must have been very, very satisfying when someone finally actually listens to what you're saying. And
not even that, it
want.
must... Yeah, I mean, it's that, and then I feel like it also just has to be satisfying if you, like... I mean, Dream's a fucked up guy, but I think I think a lot of people can relate to the idea of it's very satisfying seeing somebody you don't like get sort of comeuppance in your mind. Yeah, consequences.
Comeuppance.
And, like, to be fair, it's kind of fucked of Dream. But, on the other hand, I totally get it, because, like, you know, he's a fucked up guy. But, and...
Yeah, that's the thing I think a lot of people miss about, like, more morally great characters. Like, you don't necessarily have to think that they're, like, what they did was, like, good or justified, as long as you can relate to why they did it.
Yeah. Like, I can see how it would be, you know, satisfying,
Very
both on the front
satisfying.
of somebody finally listened to me, and on the front of this annoying little shit that I have put up with for months finally got some kind of, I don't know, feedback, you know, punishment, basically, from his own friend. So, like, he can actually get some, you know, the consequences, basically. And even not just that, it's just, like, when you think about it, like, how much of C-Dream's friendships got fucked up by L'Manberg and all the shit that happened with the disc finale, and, like, he fought Sapnap because of what happened with L'Manberg. Like, I can totally see it being sort of validating for him of, like, if this, like, little asshole that you knew had been fucking with your friendships in your life, for you to finally see their life and their friendships get fucked with, and not even
That's
necessarily
just a
by
little
your own
satisfying.
hand, but by his own friends. Like, I can get that.
That's just a
Is it
little
fucked up?
satisfying.
Yeah, it's fucked
Yeah.
up, but, you know, he's not a perfect person. He's deeply fucked up, so, you know, it's okay.
He's human.
Yeah. He's a little asshole. And you know what? Sometimes little assholes are petty. And you know,
Like,
Oh,
honestly,
Dream's
I think
so
character
petty,
Dream and character Tommy are in that same sort of bookish where even if you don't agree with their decisions or you think they're making terrible decisions, you can kind of just get where they're coming from.
yeah, I mean, I think I think it's a little harder with Character Dream just because, like, he does some really fucked up shit.
And also because you don't see his point of view.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But,
Sorry.
Sometimes, no, you're fine. It's just, sometimes I think I can kind of get it. But the more I think you go into, like, strategist dream takes and, like, the fact that the things he's doing he knows are horrible, but he's not necessarily doing it out of a personal vendetta, but he's doing it out of a more professional mindset, like, goal. Like, this is a sacrifice. Yeah, like, it's not like he's beating the shit out of Tommy or, like, in prison or, you know, well, maybe prison, sorry, that's a bad example. It's not like
that is when he's most emotionally unstable.
That was a bad example, sorry. It's not like he's, like, blowing up L'Manberg specifically to torment Tommy. You know, like, it's more of a professional thing, of blowing it up for bigger goals. So, like, on that front, like, I feel like it's harder to necessarily sympathize or understand why he's doing things, because he is doing things for a goal. He's doing things for this goal that he doesn't tell anybody about, really, and it's hard to link his actions directly to how that gets that goal across. Like, it's easier, I think, to link,
that's where the snake metaphor comes in, essentially.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to know, like, the exact reasoning behind every single one of his actions. If you look at that and you see the reason that he's taking such extreme actions is because he sees it as the only option.
I don't even know. Yeah, I mean...
Like, he thinks if he doesn't take those extreme actions, he will be unable to achieve his goal.
To be fair, I think part of it
and he kind of has nothing more to lose.
Well, I mean, I had this discussion with, like, Bluebell the other day, because Character Dream does a lot of shitty things for this goal of reuniting the server under sort of one flag, right? There's no factions, everybody gets along, I'm gonna put in quotation marks, but everybody's united into one core, like, faction. If there's grievances against one another, it's on a individual scale, not on a country-to-country scale. There isn't anybody, you know, building capitalism, or, I don't know, isolating themselves and kicking other people out of their nation because of their place that they were born. So, like, if that's his goal, it's hard to see, especially when he describes it as, like, one big happy family, which he's done to puns. It's hard to see
and also
how...
said that in a way that implies that he got it from Dream.
Yeah, but it's hard to see how, because his goals they aren't like a one-to-one, like, step 1, step 2, step 3 guide. Like, oh, I do this, and then I get this. It's sub-goals underneath the main goal, so I think it's harder to connect and, like, sympathize necessarily with, or, like, not sympathize, understand why he does certain things, because sure, his main goal at the end of it all is to get one big happy family, but he's made this, like, methodical as fuck 50-step plan with, like, 3 subheadings to get to this main goal. Yeah, and so, like, it's really hard to connect the dots of, like, yeah, he's locking himself in prison to unite the server into one faction. That doesn't make any fucking sense, logically speaking, because if you want one big happy family, why are you literally making other people's lives as horrible as possible? It doesn't make any sense. So it's like, you have to... His actions more deeply connect to, like, one sub-goal, and then those sub-goals eventually add up to his main goal, and it's really hard to, like, understand why he's doing something specific, because it's not clear, because he's always working towards a sub-goal that eventually will get to a main goal. I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling and this is making no sense, but yeah, you get it!
I think it's been, like, said before on Tumblr or on Discord or somewhere that, the happiness of the individual does not necessarily equate to the happiness of the whole, and Dream's more focused on the happiness of the average happiness of the whole than the great happiness of one single person. So that means stuff he does to Tommy, it's temporary, he'll get over it, or it won't matter in the end, and technically Tommy's happiness doesn't necessarily matter for the happiness of the rest of the server, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with his own happiness. Doesn't matter for the rest of his happiness is not essential for the rest of the server's happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although if it's interesting if you go back to the snake metaphor, though, in his little monologue he gave online, which, two things really fast. First of all, for anyone who's saying he's trying to manipulate the audience, that doesn't make any fucking sense. It's in character, first of all.
If anything,
Dream doesn't know the audience exists.
If anything, it's like content creator Dream trying to convince the audience.
Yeah, it's
of like what character Dream is actually like.
Yeah, it's in character. Character Dream is the one stating it. There isn't anybody he's directly speaking to that we know of. He's not directly talking to the audience. This is like his own inner monologue kind of a thing. This is when like Hamlet goes off on a soliloquy or whatever. Yeah. So
like the most you could get out of it is that it's like his justification.
Yeah. So if that's his thinking process, it's interesting though, because he sort of rattles on saying that there's two interesting components, because he compares himself to an animal more or less, but also on the fact that for the most of the soliloquy, monologue, whatever, he's talking about the snake is defending its defenseless family, its eggs, and you've done something to piss it off or threaten it. And by the end of that monologue, though, he's talking about how the eggs are already gone, the family's smashed. And so it's interesting to compare that to Character Dream, because in that case, if in his mind the eggs, the family are gone,
the server,
then he's a snake that just bites. Which means, what is the goal? Is he still working towards that goal? Is he trying to make a new family? Like, it's just interesting to compare to what we know his goal has been, and then this is a little bit of insight into how he thinks of himself in comparison to the server and what's happened to him, but also in comparison to, like, Dream at the beginning of the server versus Dream now. Because it sounds like, in his opinion at least, Dream at the beginning of the server was defending its family. It was a snake that had been kicked. Now, he's a snake whose eggs have been smashed, whose family is gone, and is literally just saying, you saw me as a venomous snake, you kicked me because you thought I was evil from the get-go. Now I'm a snake that is evil, or, now I'm a snake that'll just bite you because fuck you. So, I don't know, it's kind of interesting listening to that monologue.
And I think, thinking about it, I think, like, the point of that difference was probably around the time Content Creator Dream decided to start playing a villain.
Maybe, yeah, around...
Like, with the whole dethronement of everything.
Yeah, that's actually a good, other interesting point, because we learned that Content Creator Dream, during Poctopia, or at least the beginning of Poctopia, sounds like he was genuinely trying to put his character on a more, morally gray, but, like, not villain route, sort of like a...
I'm actually surprised that, like, people haven't brought that up to argue against, like, character initiators. Because, like, they have the whole thing about, like, oh, his character was, like, just evil all along, and hated Tommy all along, and then we have, like, proof that Content Creator Dream wasn't even writing his character as a villain.
Yeah,
until a specific point.
Yeah, we have, like, specific evidence of him saying, I decided to have my character become the villain and play the villain because we were in Poctopia arc. My character was on Lamamber or Poctopia's side, and then no one was on Schlatt's side, which meant that he couldn't be, like, an actual reasonable enemy because there was nobody there. Somebody had to be the villain. Somebody had to be on the villain's side. So he did it. And that is sort of... And I think that's actually... Because it's right around that point that I think a lot of people have noticed, like, there's a significant change in the way that Character Dream plays.
Very deliberate.
Yeah, he gone
from, like, Dream to very deliberate Dream.
Yeah. So, I don't know, I guess, I haven't actually seen a lot of people talk about that, but yeah, no, he became, that was sort of... That era of Poctopia is when Character Dream properly was decided, oh yes, he is going to now be the villain character for the others, because we need somebody to do that. And that was when it sort of became intentional, whereas before, I mean, I think that's why a lot of, Sea Dream apologists are like, yeah, no, during the Manberg Revolution, he wasn't the villain. He was just the opposing
I feel like
side.
it was something that's kind of lost as more and more people joined the fandom after this stuff happened. But, like, when that whole stuff got started with, like, Dream joining Slash and EXO and everything, like, people are going like, oh, Dream is going on a villain arc now. Like, it was a new thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people who are new to the fandom get the impression that he was, like, the big antagonist the entire time.
Yeah.
When no, it was more like he was antagonist to Lamanberg and Lamanberg was antagonist to him.
Yeah, they were just like a rival team.
I've been like saying this sort of thing for a while now, a little bit to myself and a little bit to friends on private discords, that Dream, like the whole before a certain point during the Manberg-Poctopia War, Dream was genuinely trying to help out Tommy and Poctopia. And that was the thing that I've been saying, and that a lot of other people had disagreed with, saying, like, no, he was always against Poctopia. And, like, that wasn't true. And now we have confirmation that, no, he wasn't always against Poctopia, that he started out as being part of Poctopia, and then had to, like, when he... And like, my idea was that... My thought was that somewhere along the way, probably around when I assumed it was around when Wilbur was doing his whole villain, let's be the villain speech, because that's generally the place where many people point to Dream suddenly having a sudden shift in attitude. That was around when content creator Dream decided to like really take control of his character and decide, okay, what do I want to do with my character actually, instead of just playing as himself, right? It's just like an extension of himself. So hearing Dream say that is kind of vindicating, not gonna lie. Oh.
Yeah, because I do remember conversations between people back around, or at least regarding that section, or like that little period in the arc where they were talking about how that was I'm stumbling through this, but now, especially with people who are more recent, or people who came in like during Exile and didn't watch Pogtopia live and got sort of this impression of like, oh yeah, he's evil, right? That's just what he is. He was always evil. That's what he is. Is like right around there with that conversation with Wilbur is often cited as his character being manipulative and like genuinely trying to, like, he was always plotting to destroy Lamanberg, whereas I noticed a lot of like character Dream apologists have been more on the side of, if you listen to that conversation, it sounds like Wilbur and Dream going back and forth, and that Dream, or at least remember people saying that they thought that content creator Dream was sort of being like convinced into it, and that's not what he wanted to do with his character, but that's what Wilbur wanted him to do, so he went along with it.
One of the things about that's like one of like the first pieces of analysis I did way back was I think it was like early 2021.
Nice.
I did like this almost line by line analysis of that scene.
And
my interpretation of it, and other people have slightly different interpretations, but my interpretation is that Dream originally wasn't going to help Wilbur until Wilbur basically said, if I get back in power in the Manberg, I'll be worse than Slashers right now. And at the time, Dream was having trouble with that because he was wanting to expand on Manberg's borders.
Yeah.
Or Manberg's borders at the time.
Yeah. I remember that,
Wilbur was basically saying, either you help me destroy the Manberg, or when I inevitably get back in control, because at that point, like you were starting to get to the point where everyone was sharing Manberg, I will be worse than him.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I do remember it very well.
How I interpreted that is, Dream chose to help and basically saw it as the best option out of two bad options.
Yeah.
I know other people, Bluebell interprets it as Dream agreed the moment he decided to go and he agreed to meet them at Pogtopia.
Which I don't agree with, because there's a lot of things you could, oh, let's meet up, and you can say yeah, or like I don't trust I don't trust him to have properly read what he was agreeing to.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's in text chat, and that's difficult to interpret how the other side is reading into that, because you don't hear what they're saying, you don't hear any hesitancy, it's difficult to interpret messages between chat. So on one hand, you could say he agreed to everything what Wilbur was saying the moment he saw it in chat, or you could say he was
I think they were in voice chat at that point.
I remember they were in voice chat, but I guess I don't remember
when they were
how far into
the
conversation they were into.
It was text, and then it went into voice chat, and then they met up at Pogtopia and kept talking.
Yeah. I guess I don't remember exactly like how much of the conversation happened while Dream wasn't physically there versus he was there. But I
sent a link to someone a little while ago, so I can actually find that and tell you like specific lines that I thought supported my.
I mean, we don't have to get into it that hard because we still have to spend some time talking about Sam Bucket lore. But I do remember around that phase, there was a lot of people sort of saying, that was back when more people thought of Dream as somebody who considered himself the protector of the Dream SMP. And so it's really interesting thinking back to that compared to, like, now, when people are just like, yeah, he's just an evil villain guy. He's kind of out for himself. Because back then, Dream was much more involved in, like, the ruling or the protection, like, governing, whatever, of, like, the Dream SMP as a faction. So just, like, talking about this has made me kind of flash back to that sort of period. And it's really interesting to think about because it's been so long since Dream was really aligned strongly with a specific faction, whereas now, like, he's still, I think, fighting in a way for his version of the Dream SMP, but we
forget our roots.
Not a part of a faction. He doesn't have anybody on his side. It's not the Dream Team and BBH.
I was questioning what character Dream's politics were. Like, he laughs at the mention of a festival being a celebration of democracy, but whether this is because of his disdain for Schlatt or personal dislike of democracy is unclear. Question for another time. Is character Dream a monarchist? The SMP is technically ruled by a king after all, but they fulfill more of a neutral peacekeeping role in general. Theocracy? I think that's funny. I forgot about that.
It is funny that the Dream SM... I don't know what kind of country they are. Technically, they're a monarchy, but the monarchy doesn't have any, actual power.
It's more like an anarchist community.
Yeah, with just sort of monarchy. A figurehead. Yeah, I don't know. It was very interesting hearing. I feel like we got a lot of insight or like information into his character just with those like couple conversations.
I found the
lines
I was referring to when I said about like how this is the point I think that Dream made his decision. So Dream says Slash is ambitious. That's a bad thing, and that's a bad thing. He wants power. He wants land. He wants to expand. You having your own little server, that's fine by me.
Yeah.
And then Wilbur lets out a very evil laugh, sung very melodramatic, and I applaud content creator Wilbur for it. And then Wilbur says, Dream, this has made me ambitious. If I'm taking power again, I will be ambitious. Let me blow it up. Let me destroy it all.
Yeah.
So to me, that's very clearly... Dream is saying that he dislikes the fact that Slash is ambitious. Then Wilbur is saying, if I'm taking power again, I will be ambitious. He's saying that he will be the same or worse than Slash. And then he says, let me blow it up. He is asking Dream to help him, so instead of him being back in power if he can't blow up the country.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically... Okay. If you asked me back when it actually happened, it would have been very much Wilbur convinced Dream to help him because it was the best option for him, because it was either he didn't help Wilbur and then Wilbur inevitably got back in power and he was as bad as or worse than Schlatt, or he let Schlatt be in power still and just waited until he died. And then Wilbur probably would have still tried to take over. And so, I mean, really the best option for him was to help Wilbur just destroy it, because, I mean, if anything, that just kind of puts things back to how they were before L'Manberg, which is also a win for him. So it was just, yeah, it was like the best option that he was presented. It's not like either of them
to convince himself that what Wilbur said was what he thought all along, and you hear him when he's speaking to Eric, freaking word for word what Wilbur told Dream what he wanted.
To be fair, I mean, Wilbur's very good at speaking,
Charisma
and
plus
Dream's
10,000.
not the best. So it makes sense. If you notice, a lot of his most convincing, like, arguments or things that he says are things that he has taken from or adapted from other characters who are more charismatic than him, like Wilbur and Quackity. Yeah. Regardless, we are 30 minutes into this, and we have not talked about Sam Bucket lore, and I really feel like we should do that.
We should talk about Sam Bucket.
Talk about Sam Bucket lore.
That was supposed to be the main. I finished
so,
it like 5 seconds
egg
before
can
watching this.
teleport.
Can the egg teleport, or did Sam Bucket move it?
Oh yeah, they did a stream after and they talked about it, and I think
No.
Bad said that the egg can teleport like the dragon egg,
Oh.
which is why after Foolish destroyed
Not
it showed up again
necessarily.
in Sam Bucket's area.
Not necessarily teleport, but that it can't be destroyed, and when it's hurt, it regenerates somewhere else. Not necessarily.
Well,
I don't think they explicitly called it teleportation. They called what it does something similar.
It's like
to
it's
the dragon
teleportation but very slow.
egg. That doesn't
It's
sound
just
like
regeneration.
That's just regeneration.
That's just
No, but
it
it's regeneration
picking a
in a
different
different
spot of its
location.
vines. That just sounds like its vines doesn't die. It just finds a different spot where it can fit based along where its vines have already spread and then grows there.
That does make sense as well, because it would mean that it has like a very good reason for wanting to spread
So
its
it's not
vines
really,
very
like-
far, because the further its vines are spread, the safer it is.
Yeah, so it's not really like teleporting. It's more so it has to have already like had some kind of presence there, I feel like, because it's not like teleporting to somewhere brand new like the dragon egg does. It's more of, I already have like a substantial amount of growth here. I can go there. It's like changing platforms
Now,
from
we
YouTube
do
to Twitch
know-
or back or whatever.
Now we do know that it can get into other dimensions because it opened up another portal.
Yeah, and that's terrifying.
Well, I mean, we know it's not from this dimension,
Mm-hmm.
but it's actually a foreign object, because that's what they confirmed earlier.
Hence
And
the giant red portal-y stuff.
yeah, probably. And it also and we also know that it's not trapped behind the iron, because it's opened another portal somewhere. Which,
Yeah.
rip.
I mean, it just... So, I finished watching the stream about 5 seconds before I jumped in the call and about a minute before we started recording. My thoughts can be summarized. That was, like, one of the most genuinely enjoyable lore streams. I don't know why. Like, the whole thing, I loved all of it. It's not like it wasn't, like, you know, the most, like, amazing, like... It's
High-end
not,
production.
like, yeah, high-end production, but there was something just so charming about it.
I like the horror elements. The horror elements are fun.
Yeah, I thought that was fun. By the end of it, I actually...
Like a standout thing about the entire like egg storyline
Yeah.
is the having way more horror elements than all the other sort of storylines going on.
Yeah, and I think
they
pulled it
did
off
really well in that.
Yeah. I think out of everything, though, the most surprising thing is that I wasn't expecting by the end of it to feel, attached or bad for Sam Bucket, because I thought
That
he
is
was
such a
crazy,
good job.
but he was a good guy the whole time. He was just fighting against the egg's influence, and the only way he could, the iron twist, I took notes while I watched it, and I thought that was super cool, because, well, my first thought actually was Dreamin' vibes, but that sort of, like, that explanation for why the hell he's Sam Bucket or whatever, like, what's the obsession with buckets, being that they're made of iron, and if he wears them on his head like a freak, he can prevent the egg from taking over his mind as much. And I don't know if it was just the way that Sam said the word Sam Bucket. it's so dumb. I felt attached, and then he got left behind, and he was locked in the room, and I was like, no! We just realized you're a good guy, and you've been trying to help them all along, and now we have to leave you. And then Bad climbs out, and he's right behind him. I was just like, this is amazing.
I mourned for you! I cried!
I mean, like, according to the stuff after he was kind of, like, already dead, or, like, in some space in between life and death, and once the egg was sort of sealed away, he was able to sort of, like, pass on, I suppose.
Aw. I'm glad, then. That's good. I haven't watched the BB-8 Sam VOD of them talking about it afterwards. Isn't Sam Bucket supposed to be a recurring
character?
Well, I mean, he came back afterwards, so he can probably come back as much as he wants.
Yeah, he's not, like, passed on or dead or anything. He's just...
I mean, like, even if he's dead, we've had ghosts show up before, so he could just show up as a ghost.
Yeah.
No, but, I mean, like, his current state is as he is now is because he was been exposed to the egg for so long that he's not really alive, but he's also not dead. And that, only recently after Bad found the egg was he able to, like... Basically, when Bad found the egg, he also released Sam Bucket out into the world, but Sam Bucket couldn't interact with people for a certain amount of time until now, which he can now interact with. And presumably, I don't know where he got his teleportation powers from, but that's a thing he has. But presumably,
I think that's part of...
He's actually an underdog.
Not being fully alive.
That's true. I mean, if he's a ghost, then yeah, maybe. He can just teleport or something. I don't know. Maybe he's part of it. I don't know.
He's just invisible.
I love him though.
Bored.
I love Sam Bucket. I loved the art that was introduced throughout it. I thought it had like the perfect amount of creepiness. I liked what else? I liked the beginning of the stream where they were talking. And I loved the joke about this could take several weeks. Or it would be terrible if this took several weeks, and then they flash forward to several weeks later.
Several weeks
and
later.
I also love the fact that, like, Bad thought he had a good rapport with Foolish, and Sam thought he could just find literally anybody who would listen to them, and they have, like, 0 friends except each other. So they had no help.
Yeah, Skeppy was too busy being at the last Nevada side.
Apparently. I love how Sam's chief complaint with, and, like, fear of Sam Bucket wasn't that he was gonna get hurt, but just that he thought that, Sam Bucket was creepy. He just repeatedly mentioned it was like, he's so creepy. And, like, that was the only thing he ever said about him. He's like, it's not like he's dangerous or he's gonna hurt me. It was just, he's creepy.
I think Sam Bucket lore is like the perfect balance between scripted stuff and the humor and comedy and wink wink nudge nudges you get from like an actual live stream.
Yeah, I just loved it. There's just so many good things about it. I have a question because obviously I didn't read or watch the BBH and Sam talking about it afterwards, but did they explain what Sam Bucket is? Because I found it really interesting that, and this is interesting both on the scale of just Eggpire in general, but his character, the reason he joined the egg is because he was trying to get his dog Francis back, and we have Sam who has Fran. So did they explain like Sam Bucket is some like version of Sam, or was it just we're just gonna use the same names because we can?
I wonder if this is related to the whole multiple bodies thing.
I don't know. Like I don't think it's that because
I don't know. Maybe Sam exists across multiple realities at the same time and brought some of his alternate selves to the DSMP or something crazy
CBK's
like
made
that.
alternate
I think that would be
universes
cool because it would just yeah.
I mean,
I think
it would be funny if that happened because it would just come out of nowhere and it would be great.
My personal theory.
Like, by the way, this character can travel to different universes.
My personal theory was that Sam Bucket is an alternate universe dimension Sam who encountered the egg and stuff and like in an effort to stop the egg, he brought the egg to a different dimension and tried to seal it underground with him. But they did not confirm or deny whether or not Sam Bucket was from an alternate universe dimension. They just said that the timeline of the egg so far was that Sir Billiam had it, and then Sam Bucket found it, and then Bad found it.
I
That's
just
all
like
they
the
said about
idea that, like, I don't know, 100, 200 years ago, there was a guy named Sam Bucket who happened to have a dog named Francis who happened to look exactly like Sam that we have now. I just think that's hilarious.
We don't know if Sam Buckets is actually his name, though, right? That's just what he
That's
says.
true. But I like that idea, so I'm just gonna go with that because I think it's funny. But, oh, yes, so, on a more...
Wait, and now I'm wondering, like, did, like, the people of, like, who found the egg after William just decided, we're not going to deal with this, we're just going to throw it into another universe. Then Sam Bucket found it.
Well, did they
in his universe and decided to throw it back?
Did they say it came from a different universe?
They say the egg came from a different universe. They didn't
Did they say Sam came from a different universe?
Yeah, they didn't
well,
say
then it's
Sam
possible then it was just the egg was there, Sarah Billiam found it. It got buried with the house at some point or something. And then Sam Bucket found it because we have the book saying that he found the red vines crawling out of a ravine and went down and found it. And then he killed all his friends. And then he buried it because I think he said also in one of his journals that he was going to bury the egg and hope that nobody ever found it again. So I don't think it came from... In this sense, I think it came from a different universe, like, ages ago.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, the timeline of who has found it, it's not that it was, you know, being transported back and forth from different universes.
That's just my personal theory that Sam Bucket's another universe Sam, because it'd be funny, but...
I was gonna say, to get on a more, I don't know, in, like, academic, I don't know, media analysis, I find it very interesting now that we have had at least 3 people who were possessed by the egg or, you know, worked for the egg very, very closely, whose main goal was to get someone back. Because BBH signed up with the egg because he wanted to save Skeppy and get his best friend back. Ant signed up with the egg because he wanted to get Red Velvet back. Sam Bucket signed up with the egg because he wanted to get his best friend, his dog, Francis, back. And I find that an interesting connection between different characters, because I don't know if any of the other ones that I can think of have that kind of same reasoning.
I mean...
Maybe
Punk's reason for joining the Empire was because Sam... Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Punk, but that's not really getting somebody back so much as...
Getting back at...
Getting back at somebody, yeah. But I just thought that was an interesting tie-through that I noticed when the lore was happening.
I wonder if it's got any connection to the book.
To the Revive book?
To the Revival book, yeah.
I didn't notice anything that seemed like Revival book. I did notice something that reminded me of Dreamins, though.
Like, if the egg knows that... If the egg claims it can bring people back to life...
Well... I mean, we don't know if Red Velvet was dead, and we know that the Revival book can't revive pets, so.
Yeah, but like other people don't know that. But it means that the egg itself might know that the Revival book is a thing that exists, especially because it's been around for so long.
Or it doesn't even necessarily have to be...
Oh no, it's lying, because it doesn't have the book. But it knows that that's like a thing that can happen.
Well, it doesn't even necessarily have to be...
So maybe that's why it promises it to people, because it knows that people might be aware that Revival is an option.
Well, I mean, you gotta also figure, though, is like, in a lot of fictional universes, even if most of them are lies, there can be multiple sources saying that I have the power to bring people back from the dead, but explaining it in different ways. So it could be something like the egg, because, I mean, the egg's a very, strong supernatural being. Just because it doesn't necessarily have to know that the Revival book is, a thing for it to promise that it can bring people back. It can just be like, yes, I can. It's like a genie. Of course I can bring it back.
As an example, though, like if anyone starts questioning it can be like,
who the fuck's gonna question the egg?
That can bring people back to life.
Who's gonna question the egg?
I'm just thinking, because it was an interesting connection, because we know that Revival is a thing.
Yeah.
You were saying about Dreamins?
Yeah, no, I noted it down when I was watching, because he talked about the iron being able to contain it, but not for a long time. The same thing happened with the Dreamins. The way that works is he could contain by iron, and I'm sure that is not a, intentional nod to the Dreamins.
I mean, there has
but
in the past there was a reference to the egg possibly being a Dreamin.
Yeah.
But I think
that was from
it was maybe
Fundy, and that
Foolish
was
who said it.
No,
That he told.
that was Fundy.
No, it was Foolish.
Fundy meant.
No, it was Fundy talking to Foolish, and I think Foolish said that it seemed stronger than any Dreamin.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was Fundy talking. I remember Fundy talking to, I think, Puffy at one point and saying that he was, like, an expert in Dreamin' hunting, and that reminded him that what he'd seen. But this was, like, way early Eggpire of him being like, I think that this reminds me of the Dreamins. I do think it's interesting, though, that those, like, there's little things that connect. But honestly, the Dreamin' plot line hasn't really come
supernatural
back.
Things seem to be iron and water from Church Crime.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about
And
it,
like in the Dream SMP
but
universe,
guys-
if you're dealing with something that is supernatural and harmful, those are the things you use.
But guys, if you think about it, that's kind of mimicking real life mythology. That iron is dangerous to fairy and fae.
Yeah. And like
that you
silver
also
dangerous
use iron.
to other things.
I don't know if you do you use iron against vampires. I don't think you use iron against vampires.
No, you use silver.
You use
against
silver.
vampires
That's silver
and
against
werewolves.
werewolves.
No, you can use silver against vampires too.
Well, silver is kind of like the
Silver's-
holy water thing because silver was considered like holy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing that it's just because, they're in Minecraft, there's only so many ores you can access in Minecraft, and iron's the one you can make, armor out of, and buckets are made out of, and they had to explain the bucket thing somehow. So, I don't think it's, like,
a
an
lot of-
intentional, like, very purposeful nod, but I think it's interesting to see the connections.
I mean, I know the iron door thing was because of MCC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Something that's actually really interesting about the whole like iron repels the supernatural thing is at least where I live in Ireland, there's this big theory about like the origin of it is basically a lot of our folklore stuff comes from the Celts, and the Celts were the people who brought iron to Ireland before people were using bronze. So it might have, one of the theories is that it originated from the people who were there before the Celts, maybe initially being a bit like distrustful of iron because they weren't used to it, or seeing it as like the weapon or the tool of the new people, these new people coming in. Which is interesting. I'm also interested in like the historical origins of all these like little bits of folklore and superstition.
I mean, I feel like a lot of it all comes from the same place and it just gets spread around and then repurposed.
And it's like, actually, I forgot to mention a bit of context. In like the stories of the Irish Celts, it's like a whole thing that they came to Ireland and the Daoiné were there, and then they basically took control of Ireland. And pushed them out, and the Daoiné to the Danann were both like the Celtic gods, and then eventually sort of became the fairies over time. So you can see the connection there between older myths having, oh, we came here from somewhere else, and there were people here, and we took over. And we had iron and they did not. And you can see how that over time becomes the people who were here before us become the fairies, and then it becomes a thing that fairies do not like iron.
I guess. I mean, I'm not Irish.
Although
I'm not
obviously
an
it's only
expert in any of that
it's only
stuff,
like a theory, but it seems plausible to me.
Sand bucket though. Oh god. I like how.
Like I said, I really enjoyed the horror aspect.
Dude, I wish they did. I want them to play around with it a bit more because it's like, it's a really.
Especially the teleporting. The teleporting was so fun.
I
'Cause you never
know.
knew when he was going to show up in the camera.
I know, it's so cool. You could just have him show up.
Like the entire time he was in that little house, I was like, when's he gonna show up? When's he gonna turn around and Sandbucket's gonna be behind him?
Literally, I'm like, Bat is going through the books and he's going through the chest, and I'm like, when is Sandbucket's he's gonna turn around and Sandbucket's gonna be there. He's gonna turn around and Sandbucket's gonna be there. like the entire time, and it was a lot of fun. Because it's like you can teleport in Minecraft, obviously, if you have admin powers. But like normally in survival Minecraft, if you're a basic ass member, you don't get to teleport. And so like it gives Sam Bucket like an ability that's both natural to vanilla Minecraft, but also unnatural to a normal player. And it just is this level of power that's been bestowed upon Sam Bucket that you don't normally get from just a normal player wandering around being creepy. Unless you're Dream, in which
case... It's kind of like the same thing as like the egg damaging anyone who tries to hurt it.
Yeah. Okay,
Dream XD being in creative mode.
Yeah. Like, I really love the fact that Foolish destroying the egg was not a part of the plan at all, but the way they incorporated it and made it so that the egg isn't actually destroyed, that it's just been moved elsewhere is so cool. Still no explanation for the creepy glowing red portal though. That's something. That's something concerning.
Yeah, like what if the egg isn't the only of its kind? What if there's more?
Yeah, like you know how ancient cities is sort of implied that the warden came from the non-functioning portals in ancient cities? What if the egg's like that?
I know that's one theory. I know the other theory is that it's there to protect the portal to make sure no one tries to reactivate it.
Maybe, but it's like, but with the, I mean, I'm going off of game theory here, so I apologize. But like, because I don't, I'm only listening to the stuff that MatPat stated out. But it does seem like the people of the ancient cities have tried to like live with the warden with the way they have wool placed down everywhere, and they were researching skulk sensors in redstone in certain areas as well. And with the way the warden seems pretty unnatural from everything else in Minecraft. It's interesting. But whether or not the warden...
I mean, there's the whole thing about like the thing in his chest is souls. So maybe those souls are the people who used to live there.
Maybe, yeah. Like, you know how in the Nether, the soul sand is literally souls in sand form crying? It's very much similar to that. But it makes me wonder if that portal is functional.
The red one?
The red one, the big red portal. With Sam Bucket, we first see with Sam Bucket, and then we see again with the egg. It makes me wonder. Oh! Actually, it makes me wonder if this means we're gonna be like getting an egg origin story. Cause
that'd be cool.
Yeah, cause they've obviously.
I just want to see what the egg does in season 2. Because I feel like the whole portal stuff is gonna have like be a big deal.
Yeah, I really do hope because it doesn't seem like they're gonna be able to wrap up the egg in season 1. So I'm really hoping that they continue with it in season 2. And it does seem like most characters are like continuing on into season 2, aside from Wilbur, who's in Utah. IRL, Utah. Not even Minecraft, Utah. But yeah, because it does feel like that they have put a lot of thought into the egg and what the egg is, with the whole, the egg's not actually from this dimension thing. Salmon Bad, the best lore leakers.
I wonder, like, is anyone else that's from another universe?
I
don't know, maybe Connor was from another universe.
I would not be surprised if Connor Eats Pants was from a different dimension. I mean, CPK is technically, he can go to different dimensions, CPK. But, I would not be surprised if Connor Eats Pants is from a different dimension. Gonna be honest here, he's just everywhere. He just shows up.
Oh, he's dead now. Maybe Dream will like revive him in season 2.
Is he like? I didn't really
okay, so Earth and the Knights of Hope find where Dream's been staying, and they show up just to find him, Puns, Rambo,
and Connor.
just standing around inside Dream's face because they just resurrected the both of them.
I would love that to happen. I wasn't paying the most attention to that Wilbur stream, so I don't know if Connor's sacrifice was a permanent sacrifice, but I would love it if he just showed up because he got revived.
Okay, do you want to do question of the week?
Yes. Do you have a question of the week?
I thought we could go over, we got 2 answers for last week.
Ooh, yes. What were the answers?
One was yours?
Yeah. My favorite part was Sam just showing up behind Bad. No, my favorite part was Bad walking down, and everybody is crying over Sam Bucket's sacrifice, and then I realized, and I typed in chat, wait, can't Sam Bucket teleport? And then the literal next second, he shows up behind Bad.
And then Haley said, Purple and Stage Duo team up for sure.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that was great. Like, I'm just so glad. I love the fact of Purple betraying Quackly, because I predicted that way back when he first joined him.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure he's just joining Quackly so he can get revenge on him for the whole bonus UFO thing.
Yep.
And then I was just like, yes, I'm right.
100%. Also, I love the state of Las Nevadas is there is one crewmate among us.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's kind of ironic that it ended up being a lot like Manberg.
Oh yeah. Everybody turning on the one person in charge because the one person in charge fucked over everybody else.
Yeah, and it's ironic because Quacky's whole thing is like, part of his whole thing is he doesn't want to be like Schlatt because he's got screwed over by Schlatt.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process of sort of trying to get power, so he was in a position where he didn't have power, and in the process of trying to get power to make up for that, to make sure he would never be in a position where he wasn't in power, he just ended up doing the same thing as Schlatt did.
Yeah, he really did. And it's like, it's a little like reflecting of real life, how the cycle of abuse, where the victims end up where people who have been hurt end up hurting others as well because they've been hurt. I hope he's broken out of that cycle, but it looks like he's just gone back on his shit. With the little epilogue of the Las Nevadas finale.
Yeah.
Do we have a question of the week for this week?
Maybe something about Sam Bucket?
Ooh, yes. What do you...
Or just the lore in general.
How about, what do you guys think Sam Bucket... Who do you think Sam Bucket is?
I feel like that's not open enough. Like, go on a question that people can have, like, a bunch of different answers to.
True. But
what do you think the egg would do when it gets to the nether? Like, what do you think it's like, is its game plan? Like, is it going to try and spread, like, super far using nether travel? Is it going to try and take over the entirety of the nether so people can't use it for transport anymore?
Is it going to wait for someone
Is
to
it trying to
come
get to, like, a
its portal
specific place?
Because it could
like,
be
there's a whole bunch of potential.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. What do you think the egg is planning with that nether portal? That's a good question.
And then that's us for this week. We've got 59 minutes, and then I'll add to that with intro and outro, and we'll have our full hour.
Woo woo.
See ya.
Goodbye.
Well, thanks for listening to the 64th episode of Mellohi, and we hope you enjoyed it. If there's any topic you'd like to hear us discuss, feel free to leave a comment or find us on Twitter at Mellohi Podcast, where you can also ask us questions or just get updates about new episodes. We also have a Discord server that you can find a link to in the description. See you next time!